wait a minute. I just changed my mind. Fuck Steezy, bro. Steezy. What's like? You know what? The Steez?
Oh, the Steezy stories.
Steezy, Izzy, Steezy stories.
Yeah, that one works.
We did it. My sleazies and my steezies. This is Steezy Izzy,
Dirty Birdo,
and today we're going to be talking about mental health in general, mainly specifically anxiety, depression, and ayahuasca. So today we want to start off with anxiety, because we know there's a lot of people out there that, you know, we all, even if you're not diagnosed with a severe anxiety disorder, we all go through small little pieces of anxiety here and there through everyday life. And, you know, sometimes it's just mild, you know, for some people, like, they can cope with it, you know, without, you know, it getting out of hand. And there's other people that have extreme anxiety, you know, they got to take medication for that, just because they're having almost panic attacks every single day. You know, it's one of those things that has a negative stigma. You know, people don't like to admit that they're anxious. You know, a lot of people, they try to hide their anxiety because they don't want to look weak. You know, they don't want, it's hard for them to admit it or go to therapy and talk about it.
Anxiety is having the worry or concern of something that's strong enough to affect the outcome of your job or something that you're doing. If that happens, you have anxiety.
So basically, if there's anything that causes you so much worry that you just can't get it done, you can't even get started, then you have anxiety.
You have anxiety.
So one of the main issues is just accepting the fact that you have that anxiety.
That's step one.
Step one, you have to acknowledge that something's happening to your body that, you know, you're not in control of, and then once you acknowledge it, you can try to take the next step forward on how to heal that anxiety. Because a lot of people have that subconscious anxiety that's, you know, eating away at them, and they don't even know what's happening. It's just kind of happening in the background because you're not making it known. So explain again what, like, your concept of like being aware.
So being aware is just identifying that you're in that state of anxiety to realize, okay, maybe something I don't feel right, or I'm uncomfortable, I'm stressed, something's stressing me out, I don't feel myself. You have to be aware that you're being anxious.
So once you're aware of that, then and you can actually do something about it. You're gonna take the next step and, like, say, all right, how can I attack this instead of letting it attack you?
Okay. How can I catch myself being anxious and tell myself, oh, I'm being anxious, I need to slow down, or I need to do something about this? How would I know that?
So the first thing you have to realize is anxiety is like a thought pattern. It's something that's going really, really, really quick. So if you're starting to think really fast and it's hard for you to identify, you know, what's wrong, like you're just kind of panicking for a little bit, just feel out your body, you know, just feel the a lot of times people feel anxiety in their stomach. You know, it's almost like the sinking feeling of worrying. And as soon as you catch yourself feeling like that, you start feeling uneasy. You start sweating a lot. You start, like, you know, if you're just over worrying about a lot of things, you have to just notice that inside of you and say, hey,
tell
yourself, look, I'm anxious right now. Instead of fighting the feeling, say, hey, look, I'm anxious right now. What can I do about it?
So what's your first coping mechanism to relieving anxiety, and what's one you could suggest for other people to try who haven't really tried a coping mechanism yet?
So one thing that I like to see anxiety as is energy. It's just energy that's stuck inside your body. Your body's reacting to a certain stimulus and it wants to do something with that energy. But sometimes, you know, you're stuck in an office, right? Like, and then you can't really do anything with that energy, right? Like,
or you're unsure which direction.
Exactly. You don't know what to do. And you have to kind of like swallow that anxiety. You have to just not show it to people because you're scared that it may be, you know, people are going to be judging you for it, you know? So a lot of times people internalize anxiety and they don't know how to let it out. So I say use it as energy. So for example, you can do some type of exercise, you know, like go for a walk, go for a hike, Go do something that's
just even going to hang out with a friend.
Yeah, exactly. Go talk to somebody about it, or not just necessarily about it. Just talking itself is a good coping mechanism. So one thing you could do is write down certain thoughts. So for example, if you're having a lot of anxious thoughts, write them down and then reread them, and then you're gonna start thinking about them logically instead of saying, "Oh, I'm having this problem." You're saying, "Oh, I have this problem. How can I fix it?" So now you're being more conscious of the scenario. So write things down, record yourself talking, talk to a friend, go for a walk, go wash the dishes, go do those things on your checklist that you really need to do, and focus on that one thing at a time. Say, you know what, I'm going to use this anxiety as energy, and I'm going to accomplish this task instead of telling yourself, I have anxiety, I can't do anything. So it's kind of like you're just redirecting that flow of that energy into the right direction.
Man, that was way better. Alright, so depression is pretty much the opposite of anxiety, where depression is described as having a loss of interest of something that it affects your everyday life or everyday decisions.
It's like anxiety in the sense that it stops you from doing the things that you want to do in your life. The only problem is it's in the opposite direction. It's instead of too much energy, it's having not enough energy.
How do you identify when you're depressed?
So if you start noticing, the first thing it's going to be, sometimes it's going to be like loss of appetite, or you might have more appetite. It's like your appetite's messed up. That's one of the main things. But the main thing that happens is your loss of interest. So if, let's say, you used to love watching a certain TV show or whatever, and now you're just so depressed you can't even watch it, just because like you can watch certain things but you feel no emotions to it. Like before you used to always react to certain things, but now you're just kind of like going with the motions. You're watching something but you're not really absorbing it. You're eating but the food is just bland. Like it doesn't have the same it doesn't excite you like the way it used to. If it's hard for you to get up out of bed to just go take a shower and brush your teeth, just kind of all the little things that you do throughout the day, it just seems like a huge chore.
Yeah. I think one thing that will help you identify it is creating a to-do list for the day, because you'll realize when you're entering a depressive state when your to-do list becomes less and less fulfilled every day.
Exactly.
If you know, I wake up, I make my bed, I clean up around the house, I do this, I do that, and do this, and then there's days you're noticing that my to-do list hasn't been done in 3 or 4 days, maybe I'm entering a depressive
Exactly.
state.
Yeah, that's
what gets you stuck into the depression.
Exactly. So the one thing that happens is it's a negative self-talk you start telling yourself. So let's say you start off with one thing bad that happens, and you think, oh, this bad has happened. Bad things always happen to me. You start telling yourself, this is who I am. I am a depressed person. Why does this always keep happening to me? Why does my life suck? And then you start kind of getting into this negative feedback loop of just anytime something happens, you only see the negative side of it, because it's almost like a snowball. Like it starts, rolling down the hill, and then it just keeps picking up more snow and more snow, to the point till it's almost like an avalanche of just things that, like, it all started with just one thing. And if you start realizing, like, oh man, like all of these thoughts that I have are not true, I just keep telling myself that, and since nobody's checking these thoughts for me, if I'm not telling this to a therapist, if I'm not telling my best friends, what's going on in my head while I'm depressed, then how can you fix that issue?
Depression has the first 2 steps, same as anxiety: accepting and identifying. The thing that's different, I think, would be the coping mechanisms.
Yeah, depression is a lot harder because you don't have that momentum of anxiety. Like anxiety, at least you have that energy, so like you're doing something with that energy. But with depression, it's almost like a lack of energy. So you have to almost kind of like muster all the willpower that you have to get yourself to do those same things that you would do when you're anxious. Except now you have to force yourself to do them, because once you start that cycle.
So what could you do during your depression? Because you don't have the energy that you have anxiety. So what could you do?
One of the things that I learned the most about depression is you have to write everything down. So like either that or go to a therapist. Like you have to, all the thoughts that are going through your head when you're depressed, if you say them out loud, record yourself saying them, like have a conversation with yourself or something, and just record yourself talking. Or you can write everything down, like on a Word document, and just kind of sit there and just type.
Just analyzing and processing.
Exactly. And then once you write it all down and listen to it, now you can be like, oh, so that's what I was saying. That's how I sound like. Then you're like, now you're criticizing it like if it was somebody else instead of you. Because when the thoughts are inside your head, you don't judge them. They just pop out, and then you just assume that they're your thoughts. But then once you say them out loud, you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I actually think. I'm probably thinking that because someone else put that into my head.
You can just separate what's junk and what's not in a way.
Exactly. It's like you're dividing up like the thoughts that go through your head. You have to put them through a filter. Like, do I really think this, or is this just like a product of my environment? I've been seeing too many advertisements that show this. Maybe that's why I'm hungry right now. Or like, it's like identifying the issue. Like, instead of like letting your emotions take over, ask yourself, why am I feeling this emotion? Is this me? Like, am I really feeling this, or did I just listen to a sad, depressing song that put me in this mood?
So that's what like the writing's gonna help you figure out.
Exactly. If you write it all down and then you listen to yourself, you realize like, oh wow, like, damn, that's really how I was thinking. Like, damn, that's fucked up. Then they start changing those patterns. But if you don't do that, if you don't talk to a therapist, if you don't write it down, if you don't record yourself, how can you know what you're really thinking if you're not putting it out into the world? You know?
It's the earth thing.
Went to Peru, into the Amazon in Iquitos with a group of friends. This was while my wedding was happening, where it happened. We decided, let's go take a little detour. Let's go find a shaman, which are in the travel agencies.
Exactly.
Convenient enough. And we had a private ceremony with the ayahuasca shaman. It was very legit. You give the shaman tells you to tell the ayahuasca, or think about it at least, your intentions for this trip.
So like he was saying, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna hold the ayahuasca right in front of you, and it's almost like a prayer. You're basically just giving it a positive intention, and you say, I'm asking this of you. I want this result to come out of this experience.
It helps you focus too during the trip.
Exactly.
Those intentions.
Yeah. And my intention, my personal thing was, I've already experienced everything I've wanted to experience in my life. The one thing that I want to not experience is depression anymore, because it's like, it wasn't anything that I wanted anymore to gain. Because most people, they'll probably think like, oh, I want to gain this, I want to get better at this, I want to do this. For me, it was like, I don't want to get better at all these other things. I could do that on my own. What I need to get better at is coping with the depression. You know what I mean? It's like, everybody gets depressed, and I know it's something that for me, I'm gonna have to deal with for the rest of my life. But at least now I'll be in control when I experience depression. So that's what I asked for from the ayahuasca. I wanted it to cure my depression. All right. So the first thing that I see was like, it was an emptiness. I closed my eyes and I saw this just pure black, just kind of like empty space, and I felt like I was at the center of this entire universe. And all of a sudden I see a projector behind me, and I didn't see the projector, but I saw a projection in front of me that was like, you know, coming from like the rest of the universe. And I saw an image of my dad. And the one thing that I've always had an issue with is I've had problems with my dad in the past. You know, we wouldn't, you know, meet face to face a lot. You know, like every time we would talk, there would be some type of issue, some argument, and we just didn't have a really close bond. And one of the things that I wanted to fix was, you know, my relationship with my dad. And in that image, I saw I saw like the perfect image of my dad at peace. You know, like he's no longer dealing with, because he deals with depression too. You know, my dad has some issues with you know, just dealing with, you know, like anxiety and depression too. And he drinks a lot because of that. He tries to drown all those sorrows, you know, through liquor. But I realized that, you know, once I understood that, like, I needed to fix that bond with my dad, everything kind of started making sense. Like, you know, like I realized I had a purpose. Like, my purpose isn't just to you know, just, you know, stay alive. It's also like, you know, take care of those around you. You know what I mean? Like, just like learn all that you can, you know, from your family, learn from your parents, learn from like everyone around you, and just absorb that information, and, you know, just keep growing and growing in life. Like,
and those thoughts, they help you get through the depression, or what do those thoughts do for you today? Or
well, they basically the whole thing is, with depression, it stems from not having a purpose. Like, you feel like you're meaningless. You feel like there's nothing left for you to, like, you know, to believe in. Like, it's almost like you almost kind of become an atheist to life. Like, you don't believe in life anymore. You feel like, oh man, I should just die already. So with this, it's like, it gave me like a purpose to, like, you know, strive towards, you know, like how to become a better person, how to be more like my dad in certain respects, because he's really hardworking. He's a great role model in that respect. He has great work ethic. but he just had issues with his depression, and I figured, you know, if I could help myself with my depression, I could try to help my dad with his depression. You know, like talk with him and just find out what are his issues, like what are the things that, like, you know, like he would need assistance with. You know.
So mine, in a short way, the beginning of it was kind of the same thing. We were in a dark tent, so it was just a projection of a vision, and it was like a Moby Dick situation. I was in the river, I was fighting this big fish, and my family helped me get it and kill the fish, and there was a lot of other little things, but what I got from it was this fish, which represents my internal struggle of my demons. My family wants to help me, my friends want to help me, and they're willing to help me and not watch me just struggle by myself. Yeah. So the big thing I got from it afterwards was getting rid of my ego, knowing that I don't need to do something by myself. I can have friends and family help, and I'm not bothering them. It doesn't make me a bad person. If anything, they're wanting to help and encouraging me to ask for help.
Yeah. So if you really want to try ayahuasca, like this is the ideal scenario. If you could afford a plane trip to Peru, or some people go to Costa Rica, you can go to different places, but I recommend Peru, you know, just because you get that authentic vibe from all the shamans. You know, it's not like you're not over there just, you know, having a drug party. It's not like you're there to just have fun. Like it's to learn about yourself. It's to learn about the universe, to understand who you are and what's your purpose on this planet. You have to come in with that intention, because if not, I mean, you're not doing it for the right reasons. I mean, if you just want to have a trip, you go do acid, you know, go do some other experience. This is not, you know, something you do to just escape your reality. This is to face reality.
Well, we're not recommending it as a replacement.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can literally get the same thing from therapy.
Exactly.
You're getting clarity, you're getting perspective on what your issues are.
It just takes a lot longer. This is more of like a crash course on, like, you know, what's going on in your brain.
Yeah, so you have to be prepared. I'm going to learn something about myself you're probably not going to like, but if you're willing to accept it, work with it, live with it, you can probably, you know, come out better.
Exactly, man. Well, at the end of the day, I feel like everybody goes through anxiety and depression in a sense. I mean, you might not have the disorder, but everybody has, you know, symptoms of anxiety and depression. And the reason we brought up ayahuasca is because it's one of those things that, you know, I'm not saying it's a magical cure and it's going to fix everything,
but it's two things.
Exactly, but it's it has a way of manifesting, you know, ideas in your head that are positive. You know, it's like it's a way to acknowledge what you have, you know, what your issues are and how to fix them. You know, if you want to make progress in life, you know, you got to start with the mental. If the mental's good, the body will follow. If the body's good, the soul will follow. You know, it's just mind, body, soul connection. You have to start with the mind first and connect all the pieces together. So, you know, we talked about a lot of stuff here today, but I mean, obviously it's tough to cover the entire spectrum of what anxiety and depression is without getting into the deep psychology of it. If you guys have any questions of anything that we didn't go into depth, if you have any concerns or anything about you, like, you know, if you want to know more about, you know, our ayahuasca trips, if you want to understand more about depression, if you want us to give more examples of a scenario, you know, when we were anxious or depressed, you know, and we can talk more about that. You know, if you guys have any other questions, let us know. Leave a comment below and like, comment, subscribe.